welcome in to WNBA Hoop Streams presented by Google. The 2024 WNBA season was one for the record books, really at all levels, from the crowd sizes to the Liberty finally winning a W championship. But we're turning the page to 2025.
They finished business, Taylor.
They finished business, and we'll see if we're going to talk if they can repeat on that business. And I'm here alongside my two WNBA superstar reporters, and Alexa Philippou and Ari Chambers. I am Taylor Tannenbaum. And we're going to get you set for the next 30 minutes with tip-off coming tonight to start off the regular season and throughout the entire weekend. And in case you missed what happened in the W off-season, we are here to catch you up because there's a whole lot to talk about. But let's set the table. Ari, what are you most excited for as we get ready for tip tonight?
A lot did happen. But the main thing I'm looking at is the expansion team. They have had some questionable decisions from the general public. That's what the general public is saying.
Fair.
They are a little skeptical. I mean, obviously, with a new team comes skepticism because you don't necessarily know what they're like. But Natalie, the head coach, has told us, hey, these players were cut because they don't fit the system. So I'm curious, what does the system look like? Can the Valkyries prove themselves right in the midst of so much public ridicule? And what does the Valkyries team look like going into the season?
Yeah, that's going to be a fun watch. What about you, Alexa? What are we pumped for this season?
Well, we just had so much player movement, and it felt like just yesterday where, you know, the dominoes were falling and players were changing teams. Some were a little bit more surprising than others. So after all that, you know, waiting of what this is going to look like, we're finally get to see the initial signs of that this weekend. And I can't wait to see the progression through. So it might not necessarily look great right away, but, you know, we might be talking about completely different things come September and October.
And a league that's all about fit, knowing that these players have moved around. I'm excited to see who fits the puzzle piece best.
Definitely.
And if you're sitting at home, this is the time now to get out your pen and your paper, use your little iPhones to write down who is where now, because there has been a lot of movement, as I alluded to. So let's get straight to that. Let's run the fast break to get into some of the big things to know with the W season now. Here we have some familiar faces in those new places. A record-breaking 4 #1 overall draft picks switch teams this offseason. Jewell Loyd, Kelsey Plum, Brittany Griner, Tina Charles. 2015 top pick, and Jewell Loyd joins the Las Vegas Aces after 10 seasons with the Storm. So now she's teaming up with the reigning WNBA MVP and Asia Wilson in Sin City. With that, former Aces guard Kelsey Plum has moved on to the LA Sparks. Plum and Jewell Loyd were part of a blockbuster 3-way trade between the Aces, Sparks, and Storm. She helped lead the Aces to back-to-back titles in 22 and 23, so now it'll be a new look in LA for 1KP. Then there's Brittany Griner, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, has recorded 812 career blocks, holds the WNBA regular season record for blocks in a single game. She's the only player in WNBA history to record at least 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks in a game. And guess what? She's done it not 1, not 2, but 3 times, and we've only ever known her as part of the Phoenix Mercury. So this is going to be a new fit for her in an Atlanta Dream uniform. So Alexa, who will make the biggest impact where they are now of all of the names I just listed?
Well, I'm really intrigued to see Jewell Loyd with the Aces this year. And that's a player, well, yes, she's, you know, you could say she's kind of replacing Kelsey Plum at that 2 spot for Las Vegas. And there's a lot of question marks with the Aces in general, I think, with their depth. But I spoke with Becky Hammond yesterday, and it really caught my attention that she told me she thinks that the Jewell Loyd we're going to see this season might be unlike any we've seen before, and that she's going to go on a tear. And so that level of production, of confidence that Jewell Loyd might be able to come in with, and she's joining a team, too, that the Aces did not like where they left off last season. And so I think if Jewell feels like she has something to prove, if the Aces in general feel like they have something to prove, that fit together could be one to watch. So I'm really intrigued by that, also because I'm going to be at that first game where we see Jewell Loyd and the Aces take on the New York Liberty tomorrow, and I'm really excited to see how it all starts to pan out.
Yeah, both of you will be in attendance for that game.
Sure
All right, the
will.
biggest splash that you feel like, look, we're talking about these names and these big names in new places. What about for you, Ari? What are you keeping an eye on?
The word big comes up, but before I get to the big that I'm going to talk about, I want to piggyback on Jewell Loyd. It's no secret that she had an off season last season. She wasn't shooting her normal percentages. I look at Jewell Loyd as clutch and efficient. That was not reflective of that last season. But now she's in a better predicament. She's in a predicament where she's comfortable around her teammates. And I'm excited to see that excitement translate on the court and get back to the Jewell Loyd that we all know. Now, when we talk about, oh, there's Jewell right there. See, every time that Jewell has a ball, I look at her, I'm like, this is somebody who you want shooting well. You want her offensively sound and confident in her shooting, and last year we just didn't see that. But when I think about big splashes, I think about big people. And when I think about big people, I'm looking at you, Brittany Griner, playing unrivaled in the offseason. She's been able to really hone in on the skills that she couldn't necessarily practice in the WNBA, like three-point shooting. When I tell you in the preseason game, back-to-back possessions, just automatic threes, initially, I'm like, Brittany, why are you on the wing? And I have a very strong opinion on bigs shooting threes. But in a world that has positionless basketball, Brittany Griner is working to expand her game. She is heavily tenured in this league. And just knowing that she's in Atlanta, starting fresh, again, a fresh start, having fun, having an energetic team around her, Ryan Howard, Naz Hillman, Alicia Gray, and Jordan Canada wanted her there. And she's in the best shape of her life. You can't, overstate that.
It's getting a little bit better. And as for Phoenix, there are a couple of pieces there that you believe, look, they're not the names that we just alluded to, but could make a big impact for the Mercury this year.
Right. Well, they brought in Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabli. This is a completely new look Phoenix team. I don't honestly know what to think of them because they have a really great big three of those two players I just mentioned and Kalia Copper. However, no BG, Diana Taurasi retired, and they just don't have a ton of depth and experience beyond those three we mentioned. So I'm just very curious to see. I think that big three of Sabli, Copper, and Thomas might be arguably one of the best, or at least one of the most versatile and dynamic in the league. But how's that going to look when you're in a team setting when you have, there's 5 players on a team that have to make it work, and, you want to have a deep bench as well. So I'm very curious to see. There's so many players that changed teams for the first time this year and now are going to be, new cities, new uniforms. The fit that you were talking about earlier is such a big component to all of this. So it's just going to be really exciting to see how it all pans out.
Yeah. We've seen Phoenix have this three-headed monster before, but I'm worried in general, in the league as a whole, the shortage of point guards. We have point guards who are injured. Jordan Canada went down in a knee injury. She's week by week. Then you have Georgia A. Moore, who unfortunately went down with an ACL injury. I am worried about that point guard position with Phoenix Mercury and in general throughout the entire league.
Well, Alyssa Thomas could play point guard for
She's
them.
1 through 5.
She can play center for them.
And let me tell you, if
Power
Alyssa Thomas is taking the ball down the court, I'm moving out the way. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not running into a brick wall. I'm not doing it.
I'm going to be in the first row watching. I'm
Did you
certainly
see
not
that
going to be out
picture
there.
with
No,
her?
Literally out.
Yeah.
No. But you talk about fit, fresh, that all plays into what they're going to do on the court this year. And again, it's going to be a little bit of a jump scare sometimes when you see some of these players in new uniforms because it is a new day and age in the W for a lot of these top players in the league. The Indiana Fever took this offseason and they went to work because it is a new era in Indy. Major moves acquiring Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Brianna Turner, Sydney Colson. There's a lot of new names and new faces in Indy. Ari, with these moves, which additions will be the biggest game changers for the Fever, who are looking to take another step and a big step this season?
Teammates, I'm going to throw y'all for a loop. Sorry, Alexa.
You're
and
good.
I know you're very well versed in
Cook.
DeWanna and Natasha Howard. But Sydney Colson, adding that championship pedigree, but being a vet that, everybody knows her about being funny and just a fun time in the locker room. She's great for chemistry, but she has that veteran leadership. It's no surprise. It's no coincidence that she has won on every single level. She's heavily skilled. She can facilitate. We talk about point guard shortage. No, she can find you. She has a great IQ, and she's tenured in this league. She's also a great vet for Caitlin Clark to help her continue to sharpen her skills and like get to her morally as well. So I'm looking at Sydney Colson being the X factor for Indiana. When Caitlin does need a break, Sydney Colson can step in, be just as flashy, and contribute in a very real way.
No, I like that. And as funny as she is, she keeps it real, too.
She does keep it real.
So she's going to keep it real in that locker room with a lot of veteran presence and some young players that they're really trying to bring along this year. What about your point of view?
Well, let's talk about DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard. One of the big things that we talked about this Fever team this last year was the lack of playoff experience. That group last year entering the postseason had only 19 games combined across all of them of ever playing in the playoffs before. So now they're bringing in 2 players. DeWanna Bonner has 87 games of playoff experience. Natasha Howard has 53 games of playoff experience. And they've won championships too. They know what it takes to get over the hump. And that's what this team, because they're trying to take advantage of their young core and, plus Kelsey Mitchell and how fantastic they are on the court and the off-court stuff, of course, as well. They are talking about that championship. So I think these were like perfect additions. I think they upgraded in the front court by bringing them in. But I think that leadership, that veteran intangible is going to go a long way for this group this year.
It's easy to underestimate the importance of having somebody on your team who has been in a long playoff run, who has won a ring. You added 3 people that have won championships, and many of them multiple championships.
Right.
So being able to have the tenure and age, the championship pedigree, and just filling the holes that they need X's and O's wise within the team, the Indiana Fever are looking good this season.
And a new head coach in Stephanie White as well. By the way, the Fever were 3-12 last season versus eventual semifinal teams.